Welcome everyone to another episode of Club Baroness. This is going to be episode 1 for the Summer Tag Tournament of 2018. I've got several fun guests here with me tonight. We've got Murder Mastodon,
Hello.
Invoker of Legend,
Hey, everybody.
we've got Xanxus,
What's up, everyone?
and lastly, and possibly leastly, Collected Dust, otherwise known as Sandal.
Screw you, Bregan.
That is the general sentiment. Well, thank you all for being here. It's going to be a lot of fun tonight, I hope. We are going to be discussing round 1 of the tournament coming up here. For those of you who can't see the meme that I put on stream, I'll share it in our little chat here as well. I just want everybody to be able to partake in the terrible memes I have here. And so we're going to go ahead and start out with Sandal. I was going to let you take it away for us here. Talk about the tournament setup and the format that we're going to be using here, and we'll kind of open it up for questions that any of the guests here may have.
Okay, the format is going to be a triple elimination format. What that means is you'll stay in the tournament until you lose 3 matches. Each week, we're going to have a random pair-off where you play against another team. We have a new rule about environmentals that prohibits hanging. The way the rule works is if you place an environmental on an object and that object gets destroyed, it's considered hung, and that match will be considered forfeited to the other team. Now, we still can have players be creative about putting environmentals out in hard-to-reach locations with things like levitate, jump, skywalk. As long as you put the environmental on a place that someone can stand on and pick it up, you're allowed to do it. But if you put it on an object and the object is destroyed, you will forfeit the match. Even if somehow someone can slightly do it, we don't want you putting things on breakable objects. If you want to take that risk, you can, but if it gets broken in the match, then you will lose that match. In order to, if you are in a match and you think your opponent hung an environmental, you have to challenge that match's result. You have to tell the moderator that you believe that your opponent's hung an environmental in that match, and later we will determine whether that actually happened. You must continue playing your opponents until you have played through. You must continue playing your opponents until one team has won 3 matches that were uncontested. Later on, the judges will determine any of the challenged matches, whether a team hung or not. And whatever team actually has 3 victories first will be the winner that's determined. Do you guys have any questions on the new environmental rules?
I think it's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah, it seems pretty straightforward. There's one thing that did pop up when you were talking there, though. You said that every week a set of teams is randomly going to be assigned. How does that work?
So we are going to be using a random number generator. If anybody's familiar with it, we're using random.org. You are all assigned a number based on the order you signed up, and then I just enter that in, and it's randomized, and you're paired up with another team, which is how we ended up with our first week's matchups, and it will continue from here on out. And we'll cut teams out, obviously, as some teams are eliminated. That won't be until the 4th week that we start actually having teams eliminated. But once that happens, we'll obviously just cut those teams off of the randomizer. But yeah, every week you'll be up against a random team. There's no seeding this time.
I got a question about the hanging. So if you said you lose the match, so you just lose that 1 out of the 5, correct? Not
That's
the
correct.
entire.
Yes.
So, as long as someone can pick that environmental up, then it's perfectly legal. It doesn't matter if it's hard to get to. Yeah.
Yeah, as long as it wasn't placed on a destructible piece of environment. Like, One of the common loopholes is such as the lockers on Panorama. You can jump up on a certain set of lockers that you can only reach by jumping on a couch first, and then you break the couch. The environmental is placed on top of the lockers in a perfectly it's easy. It can be picked up if you're standing on it. You just can't jump on the locker now. Because the couch is destroyed. But if you had, say, Skywalk or Levitate, you could get back up on that locker and pick up the environmental.
So Skywalk, Levitate, the new meta. Gotcha.
Yeah, we wanted to bring that in. Bring in the Levitate.
And so if you, let's say your opponent, if you put reduce entropy on a breakable object and your opponents can't break that object, then that's perfectly legal. I wouldn't want to take that risk, but it's your choice. As long as someone can get up there and disable it, then it's perfectly legal.
Yeah.
But it's your responsibility. If you put it out there and someone else decides to destroy it, you lose that match.
So someone can purposely just destroy it to win the round.
Yep.
I mean, it's still kind of your own fault for having placed the environmental on a
That's true.
piece of terrain.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
It's a huge gamble, but hey, if the other team only brings skills that cost 3, then your reduce entropy could win you that match.
Yeah. Oh, so
I do have
correct
a
me if I'm
question
wrong here, but go ahead.
So as far as the 3 losses, that's 3 losses as to the team, right? Not 3 total losses in general.
Yeah, it's still a best of 5 when you're playing, just like it would be before. And we're gonna be doing pick direction as well, which we did last time. If you want to tell them a little bit about pick direction, Sandal.
Sure. I just want to say what the challenge is. When a match is challenged, you have to continue playing your opponents until someone gets 3 unchallenged victories. This way we don't have to go back and say, oh, one team was determined to win one match and now you guys got to go meet another day and finish off, the best 3 out of 5 somehow. Just make sure you play till you get 3 unchallenged matches. This way we can totally determine who the winner is for that week. If we need to, based on match challenges.
Ideally, there shouldn't be too many challenges, as long as people understand the hanging rules. Just don't place an environmental on anything destructible. Like, that's the real.
You say that now, but the gears were just turning in my head as you were saying this. I'm thinking to myself, now every time I'm about to lose a match, I just say, I challenge Al Gore style, and I never actually lose.
Well, let's hope nobody tries that, because I don't think that would be a very good idea. Try not to abuse the rules.
You can
I'm kidding, obviously.
I reserve smiting capabilities.
Yeah, if we know you're really screwing around with us, we'll just... You'll face the consequences.
I demand a recount.
Thanks, go.
I mean, Kanye isn't on Invoker's team, so... who knows what can happen. Just saying.
What is that supposed to mean?
You know exactly what it means.
Okay.
So, before the pick direction, I also want to get into the strictness of meeting up. When you and your opponents agree on a time to meet for your match, that match is pretty much set in stone. You need to show up at that match within 30 minutes of the appointed time. If you guys don't show up at that time, you automatically forfeit the match. So, plan accordingly. And you might want to set aside about 2 hours to be really safe, or maybe 2.5 to be really safe to finish an entire set with your opponents.
3.5 if you're playing Ebony and Savage. So, be ready for that.
All those recall loops.
So now we're gonna go into the pick direction of how the order we're gonna play levels as far as this tournament goes. Each round, one team will pick the starting stage. The opposing team will then choose what direction of stages you'll play in. So if I pick Dawn City and my opponents say, let's go in forward order, the next stage we'll play is Refinery, then Lane, then Sane. If I say reverse order, then we're going to go backwards, and that would mean we'd go Dawn City, Panorama, Highway, Palace, and then the Sane if the matches get that far. It's a best 3 out of 5 to win. And the next rules are pick and... Oh, wait, yeah, we did that. Pick and direction.
I think the last thing would just be to mention it's going to be triple elimination this time. I'll just cover this part a little bit. So while we enjoyed the kind of season and then playoffs of the way Swiss worked with the single elimination that followed was a lot of fun, we've ran into situations where frequently some of these teams were being scheduled for matches in week 3 and 4, but they were already numerically eliminated from advancing in the tournament. And I know that kind of created some negative feelings for a lot of people. So at this point, the way triple elimination will work is you are in until you're out. You have a shot at winning all the way up until you take your third loss. You could lose your first 2 weeks back to back and still have a shot at going all the way through and winning the tournament. So that'll be the way it's going to work. 3 losses. Once you've hit 3 losses, you're out of the tournament. And once we're down to 2 teams, regardless of record, those 2 teams will face off in a finals, and then that will determine the tournament winner. So kind of just give everybody extra matches. You're guaranteed at least 3 matches this time, and you're not out until you lose 3 times. So there's never any time where you are scheduled for a match but cannot advance.
So have you guys worked out the math for that? Like how long it will take and what's the chances of multiple teams ending up at the top with an odd number or something like that?
So every time there's an odd number, which the first week there's an odd number already because we started with 17 teams, they'll have a bye. And that's also going to be determined randomly which team gets a bye which week. If we see the same team get byes more than once, we may have to force that shuffle just to make sure that the same team isn't getting multiple byes. But it's unlikely that'll happen. But whenever we did the math beforehand, Nathan, who helps us out with this, said before our previous tournaments were taking about 8 weeks, 8 rounds. These tournaments with the triple elimination style should be roughly similar length. He estimated anywhere from 8 to 10 weeks for the number of players we had. So it shouldn't be that much longer.
Okay.
All right.
It sounds like it'd be a lot longer, but I'll trust Nathan's math.
That's what I was told. Hopefully it all works out just as well in play. But we're looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a fun format. I think it gives everybody a chance to play a variety of players. And, you'll probably get some matches that are more closely matched than others. And you're guaranteed several matches at least before you're out. And there's never going to be a time where you're playing somebody and there's no real advantage for you to win or lose. So looking to just get people to enjoy it a little bit more while they're in there.
I like it.
Does anybody else have any more questions on the format or any of the rules?
Not at all.
Okay.
I think it's pretty clear, yeah.
So moving on, we'll go ahead and I'm just going to introduce some of the teams that are going to be participating in the tournament. Let me pull up my list so I can see them all here. Actually, I got it right here if I scroll down. So we are going to be seeing several teams returning and several new pairings. We've got... Oh, darn it, that's not the full list right there.
Kids need to take showers.
Here is my full list. So, first team to sign up, we had Mirage and Darcia. It's a new pairing. Both these players played in our previous tag tournament. Neither one managed to advance into the second round, but we see them here together. Might be able to be better together than they were apart. We've also got Affin Show and Snowrise. These guys played together in Group A of the last 1v1 tournament. Group A kind of had this really clicky friendship going on. A lot of Group A got along really well. A lot of the newer players kind of created some alliances, and that's where we see this team come from. Then we've got Jay and Murder Mastodon making another bid here. We've also got Murder here with us.
Hello again.
I
Boo.
think you guys finished, was it 5th or
Rude.
6th in the last tournament?
Not where I wanted. I know that, so I don't know.
We've got also Algal Mantis and Sardonic Jester. I'm not really sure how those two got in touch and got together, but it should be a fun pairing. We've seen them both do fairly well in 1v1 tournaments. I think Algal Mantis was also the guy who, I think he won the, what was it?
Yeah,
What are they called? The Leftovers
Leftover.
1v1
Leftover.
tournament? Yeah. Yeah.
I had a chance to play with them the other night. They're actually pretty good team.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear it. I'm going to be interested to see more of these guys. We've got also the gentleman just speaking, Xanxus, partnering up with Xanxus again. These are the defending tournament champions, despite not having the best runs in the 1v1. Good to see them both back.
Like always.
We've also got some poor choices in Kamikaze Mario making their second run. I think they finished just somewhere on the lower end of the top 8. I think they finished like 7th, 8th place in the last tournament, as well as Daffy Duck and Filthy Knigget, who also finished in 7th and 8th place in the previous tag tournament. Got another pairing that comes from Group A of the 1v1. We've got Mech Nigel and Jazz Cabbage, who I don't know a whole lot about, and then Painted Lemon and Comrade Tutoru. I hope I'm saying that right. Then there's myself and PDDCM. We played in the very first tag tournament. We're going to be partnering up once again after taking one tournament apart. Then we've got Evolution and Gotrix, both players who have been in multiple playoff runs. Going to be interesting to see them together. We've also got another of our guests here, Invoker of Legend, playing with Kanye West. Then there's Ebony Scarface and Savage Sim. They entered our last tag tournament, and many will remember Ebony winning the 1v1 tournament that we just had finished a few weeks back. We've also got Sandal, another one of our panelists here, with War Dog Akuma. And then there's going to be Esper51, the Mechanical Ice Sword Queen, tagging up with Doomsday. It's going to be a very interesting squad to watch. First Ska Boss, SC War Machine 21, also getting together. And then our last entrant, kind of put together at the last minute, was Orange Baby and Game God. So now that we've introduced the teams, let's talk a little bit about the matchups. And I'll have this is where we're going to discuss everybody now. So let me pull the matchups up, and I'll put that up on screen for everybody. But do you guys have all the matchups there in front of you?
I got it.
We do.
We're all here.
Okay. So
Oh, yeah, I think they are, yeah.
who wants to go over the first one? Anybody want to take that one
What
away?
is the first one? Filthy and Daffy versus Evolution and Goat.
Yeah. How about you take it for us,
yeah.
Murder?
Oh, this is gonna be a hard one for me to take. I'm not part of the late night crew, so I don't play against Filthy and Daffy too often. I think I played against Daffy in the 1v1, and I haven't played him in so long since the game first got re-released, and he got a lot better since then. He actually took the first round for me, and in every other round it was very close rounds. I've definitely played with Filthy a lot before he turned into a late night crew. Both players are very solid, and they do make good teams. They got pretty high. They got a lot further than people expected in the last tag tournament, but they're gonna have some tough matchup against Evolution and Gotrix. Evolution, I feel, has gotten so much better over the past few months because I think he's tired of not doing as well in tournaments. So his game has definitely improved over the last few months. I can't speak much on Gotrix because I've only played him one time for like 5 minutes, like last week. Then I got kicked out of the lobby. But he has also shown that he's a very spectacular player in previous tag tournaments. Just maybe he has to shake some rust off or something like that. I'm not sure how he's been doing nowadays. But this is going to be a very close one. It's definitely going to be fun to watch. I think both teams don't play very janky, so it's just going to be more of a brawl.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I know Evolution has gotten more into the, turn and burn style and get in your face, but Gotrix and Evolution have both been known in the past for having some dirty tricks up their sleeves. So I wouldn't write that off if I were Filthy and Daffy. They have shown some nasty, nasty moves in the past. What are some of your other thoughts on this, like Sandal, Xanxus? What do you guys think about this matchup?
I would say I don't play much with Filthy and Daffy. They did a pretty good showing in the last tournament, so I mean, they might improve in this one. I can probably get more input on Evolution and Go because I had the chance to play with
break
Evolution a
Evolution's
lot. No, not necessarily. I was playing with Evolution in Tag and giving him some advice overall on how to play, be a little bit more aggressive. So his improvements over the month and stuff, it's just been kind of me and him playing since Xanxus. His work schedule, I'm usually not able to play with him as much. So Evolution has been my partner as far as just casual play in general. But as everyone has noticed, like he's improved a ton from previously, and I feel like he plays more aggressive. But what's going to make him dangerous is paired up with Gotrix too, because like Bregan said, they can both be aggressive, but they also have that ace, be able to hang something or throw out something really tricky. So those are the type of teams that I generally have more trouble with, is people who can throw some technical stuff out there, but can also be aggressive too. So
Question is, do goats evolve? All right.
exactly.
Awful.
Well,
So good.
I played with the Evolution the previous tournament against Filthy and Daffy, and we did manage to 3-0 them. But I haven't played with any of these players in this matchup in quite a while. I've not been playing a whole lot lately, so it'll be interesting to see if anything has changed between these players.
You got any more you'd like to add on this one, Invoker?
Well, I play with Evolution kind of a lot out of everybody in that group. Filthy a little bit too. Goat and Daffy not so much. I was just, as everybody was talking, I was thinking about sort of just general things that the changes to the format are going to bring to the tournament. It's sort of interesting. Right off the bat, it occurred to me that teams that don't have a jumper are probably going to be at a disadvantage right away. Looking at you, Xanxus and Xanxus.
Hey yo.
And that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. So take away some of that edge that they get just by having that natural ability to dodge. And also, I think that maybe it's going to discourage some of the jank that we've seen too, just because it's going to be such a pain in the ass to go about setting up things like reduce entropy decks or in a way that's not going to get you disqualified for doing it. So maybe people just sort of sidestep that and look to a different strategy. So that should be interesting to see.
And this is kind of a topic I've talked a lot about internally with some of the other moderators too, and it's kind of back and forth how people view it. And yes, cartwheelers lose some utility because hanging becomes a lot more difficult for them, but the go-to character for hanging was always a jumper in the first place, and losing that ability to hang I feel like it affects, like, jumpers lose more, but cartwheelers are kind of hurt more. So it's kind of like this weird trade-off because jumpers lose so much of that, hanging utility that they were able to do before. Yes, there's still some places they could do it, but now it's more of an even playing field. If you really want to place an environmental somewhere somebody can't reach, now both a cartwheeler and a jumper will probably need levitate.
Yeah, that's it. You could. That's actually what I was going to say. I mean, a cartwheeler can still jump if you utilize levitate and jump. So
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm kind of interested to see how it all plays out personally.
Does Filthy and Daffy, are they both cartwheelers? I don't remember. I know Daffy is.
They're a hybrid jumper cartwheeler.
Okay, cool.
So
I didn't remember.
Let's rein it in on these guys and get a prediction out of everybody. So we'll just go down the list. Give me who wins and what's the score. We'll start with Sandal.
For this matchup, you're saying, right?
Yeah.
I really don't know what Filthy and Daffy have been doing, but if I got to go on the past, looking at I'm gonna go 3-1 in Evolution and Goat's favor.
Okay, Xanxus, who wins and why?
Same thing. I'm going to agree. It's a 3-1, and I think mainly just because the improvement Evolution has made, and I just think overall they're going to have some tricky stuff also up their sleeves. So,
okay, interesting. Invoker, you got any faith for Filthy and Daffy?
I hate to be the bearer of bad news a third time here, but immediately my gut instinct tells me it's going to go to Evolution and Goat. I don't really know what that's based on, but I think Evolution and Goat are probably going to take it 3-2. That'd be my prediction.
All right, Murder. Come on, tell me about your faith in Dance of Death.
If Filthy and Daffy, let's say if Filthy and Daffy build arsenals together, I will give it to them 3-2.
Okay. I like it.
If they coordinate their stuff, I think they can take 3-2. It's going to be a hard-fought battle, but they can do it.
I will point out something interesting. Filthy did like running a one-school Dance of Death, but if you put Reduce Entropy out, he's got nothing for it. But with these new rules, if he's got a jump in there, he could use that and pick up an Enviro in most places.
All right.
See?
So we got, let's see, was it 3 people leaning towards
the team of Evolution of Goats. That's their team name.
Goats Evolved?
Yes.
Goats. I like mine better, but...
Okay. Well, let's talk about the next matchup then. This one is actually going to be my matchup. It's me and PDDCM, that's Bregan, versus Some Poor Choices and Kamikaze Mario. And I've got another... Whoops. That's not the right one. Keep the right one on the screen. There we go. I'll share this one for everybody here, too. I think everybody's going to get a good one laugh out of this one. If I can find it again. But somebody take it away for me. Invoker, why don't you tell me a little bit about this matchup? I think you're familiar with all these characters.
I am a little familiar with these guys, yeah. Poor Choices and Mario versus yourself and PD. Actually, I had a chance to play a few matches with PD last week, who I was probably most unfamiliar with out of the group here. If I had to guess, I'd say this is going to be an uphill battle for Poor Choices and Mario. It's just based on the veterancy and skill level of the other two players. I know that you guys have had sort of a lot of series against each other. You're very familiar with each other, you and Poor Choices, and there's sort of this ongoing feud between the two of you. So it's definitely going to be a good matchup, and I wouldn't expect to see anything less than a lot of spectacular matches.
It's going to be 3-0 in Bregan's favor.
Oh, jeez.
Some Poor Choices is going to hang an Enviro every match, and they're going to forfeit 3 straight matches.
What did you say? You don't think it's going to be 3-10-0 for them?
Oh, I forgot about old ties. and challenged matches, thanks to Invoker's clever idea.
Wait, what was it?
Your idea of repeatedly challenging matches force infinite matches.
Right. Not a bad one. I could see Poor Choices taking advantage of that.
Just lay an environmental and forfeit each time. Too bad we're playing only on lane, guys. You can't hang on lane. Good luck.
He's going to use a lawyerly thing, you know. He's going to challenge every match. Bregan, I know you hung it. We didn't see an Enviro in your hand, but we know you hung it somewhere. Gotta keep...
He's just going to challenge every match.
Till you guys like play 20 of them or something. Like, now you know how it feels.
Well, little does he know, I have all the time in the world.
For those not in the know, Bregan made Poor Choices sit through a lot of forced ties in a 1v1 tournament previously. But
right.
It's still the longest match on record. By like 20 minutes. But so let's get to some real analysis, though. Why don't you give us your thoughts on it, Xanxus?
I'm gonna have to give it to Bregan and PDCM. I would say 3-2 on this one. Just because of I mean, I thought both you and Poor Choices also. I just feel like whenever you're on your game, and so is PD, you guys do get into this unstoppable like mode. And with Poor Choices and Kamikaze, there's just little small mistakes I see sometimes. Like they know how to put the pressure in. I've played against them. I just feel like if they can stay on top of it, they can do a lot better. But you guys just, I feel like, have the most experience together overall.
You got anything you want to add, Murder?
No, not really. I also would go about 3-1 in your favor, Bregan. I think you and PD are definitely one of the best jumpers in the game. And PD, even though he doesn't play that often, when he gets back into his groove, he's easily one of the best cartwheelers in the game. So I think you guys make a pretty dangerous team. And like Xanxus was saying, I play against Choices and Mario a lot. Choices a little less often recently, but they make, like he said, small mistakes, just small errors during the matchups that come back to bite them. But if they can figure out how to capitalize on mistakes, they could have a much bigger shot than I'm giving them. But yeah, definitely going to go 3-1 in your favor, Bregan.
Okay. Sounds like nobody has any faith in Senor Turbulence over there. The one thing I will talk about my own team just a little bit that hasn't been touched on, I think is worth noting, is so I mentioned previously we tagged in the first tag tournament together, and then I played the second tournament with Monkey. Davio had some work stuff. He wasn't able to play in that tournament. The one thing that's kind of different this time is in the first tournament we played double jumper, and you may see where we kind of faltered towards the end of the tournament is being double jumpers, sometimes we crumbled under really heavy attack pressure because we weren't as defensive as teams that have cartwheelers. Since then, as Murder indicated now, Davio has decided to switch, that is PDDCM has decided to switch and play a cartwheeler, and he is, at least in my opinion, I've played against him in tag a lot before we got together in this tournament and in 1v1. He's one of the hardest cartwheelers to hit in the game right now. So, go ahead.
If I could put in, I've actually that's one thing I have noticed, which I'm glad you reminded me, was he wasn't playing with you, but I remember one night we were playing tag and he was my partner. He was playing a cartwheeler and he was actually dodging some pretty crazy attacks too. And I told him overall, like, he should have stuck as a cartwheeler because he was just blowing my mind with some of the like pickups and dodges he was doing as a cartwheeler. So
yeah, for me as a spectator, if I were watching us, he's who I would want to see. And, obviously I'm always interested in any team, but for our team, I could care less about watching myself play. PDDCM is the one everybody should have eyes on. He's really stepped up his game, and like Murder said, he is one of the best cartwheelers right now. Absolutely fantastic.
I'd like to add something to that if you don't mind. I just, like I said when I was talking about this team to begin with, I've not played with, out of those four players, PDDCM is the one I played the least with. And like I said, I had a chance to play with him last week. And I believe it was actually you, Mastodon, you and Jay that we were playing against. And I was blown away. You know what I mean? I haven't played with him at all. And I know generally who does play and doesn't, and who has been active and who hasn't, because I'm sort of just always watching and playing and whatever. And so I know that he hasn't been playing all that often, and he came in and he's on my team and he was making me look silly. So it was unbelievable. I think he's a way stronger player than I had previously thought, and I think that's going to be a tough matchup for just about all the teams. So we'll see.
Okay, well, I think that's enough on that matchup. I think I already got everybody's predictions as well. We'll move on to this next one. Maybe some names that the viewers and also probably a lot of us here aren't as familiar with. It's Algol Mantis and Sardonic Jester versus the first Ska Boss and SC War Machine 21. Does anybody here feel more comfortable taking this than maybe somebody else? I know these are some lesser known names.
Yeah, I've played with all these guys. So Algol, Mantis, and Sardonic Jester. I've never played with Jester, at least not to my memory, but Algol Mantis is one of those players who I've never played with him when he had a mic. So every time I played him, he never had a mic. So I don't think much of it, but then he's dangerously good, even though he never talks. So that's definitely going to be a team to look out for. And he plays very aggressive, and he can also play very tricky. So a player can go whichever style he needs to go. I'm wondering if they're going to be coordinating their arsenals or not, since I know nothing about Jester, really. The first Skullboss and War Machine, I played Skullboss for the first time about a week or two ago, and I was very surprised by him, too, just because I've never played him before, and he definitely knew what he was doing, hitting heavy damage, and able to stay constant pressure and making smart moves throughout the game. War Machine, someone who I've played a lot, very solid player. He was actually, if me and Jay weren't going to team, if I was going to get with someone a little less known, I wanted to get with War Machine, just because I think he's a fun guy to play with, and he's very good at the game. Skullboss and War Machine, once again, did they choose to be together, or were they randomly assigned?
It was a bit of both. They were in that thread where, the listless and forgotten were kind of still wandering for partners, and it was suggested to them, hey, would you two, you have similar schedules, would you mind teaming up? And they said yes.
Okay, well, if they're able to coordinate their arsenal, I'm very interested in see what they come out with, because they're both very solid players. If I had to give my prediction, though, for the team, just because I've played with Algol Mantis a lot months ago, but not much recently, but seeing his matches in the 1v1, I'm going to give it to Mantis and Jester, just because Mantis is a very dangerous man.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and disagree with you right off the rip.
Yeah.
I think it's going to go the other way.
Really?
Tell me why.
I don't have a whole lot to go on, but I played with Scott Boss just a couple days ago, and that guy I was playing in Battle Royale.
I think it was. I was about to say I think it was with me.
No, it wasn't. It was in Battle Royale, and he was the one to watch out for. I didn't feel threatened by anybody else in the match, but Scott Boss was looking over my shoulder the whole time, and I know that guy. Like you said, he knows what he's doing. Obviously, we all know War Machine knows what he's doing. I don't know a whole lot about Sardonic Jester, like you said, or too much about Algol Mantis, to be honest. But just what I do know about Skyboss and War Machine tells me that they're going to be pretty tough to deal with anyway. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Sardonic Jester and Algol Mantis have something to bring to the table to match that. But I don't know. My gut tells me that Skyboss and War Machine are probably going to take that one.
So it's a bit of a long throwback, but the one time we've seen Sardonic Jester was actually in the first 1v1 tournament before we had any recordings. And this was the one that Xanxus won. Some people may not know he won the very first 1v1 tournament, and it was just single elimination. I believe it was round 1, Sardonic Jester actually faced Algol Mantis, and I think he made top 8 before he got knocked out by Monkey or Math later on. But yeah, he actually he played in that tournament, and I think he 3-0'd Algol Mantis in the first round.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I might just be eating my words.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, either way, it's not going to be very far off. I think it's going to be a very close match and a very entertaining one, regardless.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No one's getting ran over, let's say that.
All right.
I beg to differ.
Oh.
Okay. Now tell me why.
So I actually had played, I think it was either last night or 2 nights ago, against Algol Mantis and Sardonic Jester. And these guys didn't even coordinate any arsenals together. They haven't even had time to coordinate their arsenals together. They were just using some really random arsenals picks for any map. And they were applying a lot of pressure. They weren't doing necessarily anything janky, but they were, hitting me whenever they could exploit my cartwheels. I think it was me and Silent, and they were giving us a lot of competition that night.
That's because he had the dodge jackpot at the same time. So.
He actually did not use jackpot once. So.
Oh, so you mean he didn't do damage any?
No. No, but they did really good. And I think they might possibly even 3-0. I'm going to go with a 3-0 on them.
Oh, wow.
Smokes.
Yeah.
Definitely a match to look for.
This seems hotly contested here. I like it. Sandal, you got anything you want to add on these guys?
Yeah. Me and Algo almost teamed up at one point, but things slipped through. So I know he has an interest in Arsenal designs and stuff. And he also was a forum member on Phantom Dusted, known as Enderwigan. And Sardonic Jester, he was actually in a more recent tournament too, the Special Environmental Battle Royale one. And he's got good mechanics from what I got to play with him. Like, I felt like he was outplaying me at times, and all right, just straight out outplaying me. And he got second place in it, and he had good mechanics. And Algo's always being very humble about his skill, but he always seems very solid the few times I was able to play with him. War Machine, I haven't played a whole lot with him or seen him. He always seemed a little low key. He seemed a little more aggressive coming out in the last 1v1, and I saw some match with him and Math versus Xanxus, and it was pretty impressive, the resurrections he was getting to save Math's life in a match. So it definitely will be an interesting match to see. I'm gonna lean 3-1 in Algo Mantis in Jester's favor. I'm not quite as familiar with Ska Boss, so that's kind of where I'm giving the weight to Mantis and Jester.
You know, this was a matchup I didn't know as much about going in, and y'all got me real interested now. All four of these players getting kind of talked up. I'm real interested to see how this plays out, actually. So I think that covers us for that one. And so let's move on to our next matchup. Does anybody have the list in front of them?
Jeez, oh yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
I made a good old meme for this one, too.
Did you?
Bad Luck Brian shows his face. Enters tag tournament for the first time. Plays Doom in round 1.
So accurate.
Yeah.
Brian.
We got Mech Nigel and Jazz Cabbage, who I don't know at all, versus the great and legendary and fearful Doomsday and his new partner, Ice Sword, better known as Esper 51. Why don't you take this one for us, Invoker?
Sorry, my buddy had just walked in there. You wanted me to take this one away. Yeah, so Mech Nigel. So everybody calls him Mech Nigel. I asked him about this. He said it was Mech Nige, although I believe his name is Nigel.
His actual name is Nigel.
I'm still confused by that one. Yeah, so Mech Nigel and Jazz Cabbage.
Nigel Thornberry.
He's never heard that before.
I mean, I think we all know what's going on with Doom and Esper. I don't know how they synergize and how they play together, but individually, each one of those players could be looked at as the best at what they do, I think, anyway. Mech Nigel and Jazz Cabbage, I don't have a lot of knowledge about Jazz Cabbage, but Mech Nigel was, as everybody remembers, I'm sure, phenomenal in the 1v1 tournament, although he didn't take a whole lot of wins away. He was in my group stage, and every match I played against him was like, I don't know, I felt like it was a war of attrition. It was like I just came out of some sort of a minefield with 2 legs blown off, but I somehow survived. And I expect to see great things from him in the tournament here. I'm not sure how well he's going to play with Jazz Cabbage or what Jazz Cabbage really does. Like you said, though, it's kind of a bad luck Brian situation there where they drew a seemingly insurmountable first team to play against here. So
well, that's the good thing about the format. Yeah, round 1 probably going to suck, but you got multiple rounds, multiple opponents, and we get to see more of them. I think it's safe to call them an underdog in this matchup. I wouldn't say it's impossible for them to win, but I think it's definitely
nothing's
favored.
Impossible. Yeah, I'd say that Doom and Esper are probably going to take that matchup. But honestly, though, Mech Nigel's his playstyle seems to lend itself to the way that he'd have to play it to be able to be effective against these players. He seems to be a fairly aggressive player overall. As I remember, he plays a player. He's a jumper. And like I said, I had a really tough time pulling out wins against him. And so I expect to see at least him putting up a fight. And I'm not sure about Jazz Cabbage, but I'm sure he's not a slouch either. So.
Okay.
We'll see.
Who else has got some 2 cents to add on this matchup?
I feel this Doom and Esper combination is very fitting because Esper, when he's playing tag, always thinks he's playing 1v1, and Doom doesn't talk much during his matches, so it's a match made in heaven. I do feel really, like you said, bad luck Brian for Mech Nigel and Jazz Cabbage. I've never even heard of Jazz Cabbage before, but I have played Mech Nigel a lot. Really cool guy, and yeah, he's a very solid player. But the combination of Doom as Esper for him may be a little too much, so I'm gonna have to give it the Doom and Esper definite 3-0. I'm curious how Esper is gonna run this with Doom on his team. We know what Doom's gonna do. He's gonna do Doom stuff. I'm wondering what Esper is gonna do during these matches, because his play style varies from hanging environmental to just chasing you with Ice Sword and Willows. So I'm curious what he's gonna bring during the matchups.
I'm kind of split on this team. I think it's really interesting because on the one hand, it is easy to look at it. And you say they're both high mechanical players. They tend to prefer to play more of a solo style than play together. And you kind of just see like, oh yeah, they'll go in off and just kind of 1v1 their individual opponents and they'll just crush off of mechanical ability. But at the same time, I feel like they have the same strengths and then they have the same weaknesses too. And I feel like that could be exploitable. The same things that you could do to Doom that you were able to exploit on him, you can exploit on Esper 51. And then there's also the aspect that they're both more used to playing without a lot of teamwork. Means that if you can play with a lot of teamwork, you can take advantage of that. You can split them up. So
That is true.
I'll be interested to see which wins out, whether they having the same strength is more important or whether having the same weakness becomes a bigger problem for them than their strength.
Yeah. I feel like when what you're saying is absolutely relevant, and Doom / Esper 51 versus teams like Jade Murder or yourself and PD that really have that teamwork down, it's going to be, that's going to rear its ugly head there.
It could. I mean, they could, stomp their way all the way to the finals on mechanical ability as well. It's very possible. So I'll be interested to see if they can resolve some of that weakness so that they don't get exploited. Xanxus, Sandal, you guys have any thoughts on these guys?
I think it's you want to go, Xanxus?
No, you can go ahead.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting mix. Like as Murder said, Esper does he likes to use environmentals sometimes that are kind of very restrictive or countery, and I don't really see Doom go for that. I don't know if they're going to experiment in that direction at all, which would be interesting to see. But I almost look at them, I don't know if you, let me see if you guys think it's a good analogy. I'm almost thinking they might be like a jumper version of Xanxus and Xexus, like just coming in with that full-on aggression, and even though Esper does mix, jank environmental stuff, he's also got really good mechanical skills, and this might be an interesting factor. I was partnered with Esper. We were trying to be a team, but our schedules were just not working out, and sometimes when we played, he wasn't able to play with his mic on, and we would still do, pretty good. And, Doom is not the most communicative, so I wonder if those two things will factor in at all, like, will it strengthen their abilities to work together like that? But, Esper does communicate too, but, he can also work without a mic good. So,
yep.
Yeah.
Another thing worth noting is that, I don't know about Jazz Cabbage, but just looking at the three of them, we all know the three of those guys are all jumpers. So Jazz Cabbage may be a cartwheeler, but at least 3 out of the 4 are jumpers. So that definitely you got to take that into consideration as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think you had a little bit you wanted to add there, Xanxus?
Yeah, kind of the same stuff. I think they'll do good individually, but I think they may have a tough time against players who've played together for quite a while, such as yourself, Bregan, and PD, or myself and Zex, because when it comes to tag team, you need to be able to coordinate your attacks together, and not communicating can be really crucial. So It's definitely going to be interesting to see if their individual play or if they try to see if they can work together a bit better. If they do manage to get some sort of synergy, it can definitely be a brutal team. So,
Well, another last thing I'll point out, because I think we've drawn on pretty long on Doom and Esper. I actually tagged a whole bunch with Doom leading up to the tournament, and I was actually close to teaming up with him. I just didn't think he was actually interested in doing so, and ended up matching up with PDDCM instead. And so now Doom's ended up with Esper. And my experience tagging with Doom is that he is good at teamwork, but he kind of has his own way that he plays the game. You have to mold yourself and just kind of go with what he does. Like, you have to get down like almost on an instinctual level. And if you can follow his game plan and what he's doing, even though he doesn't often vocalize it, it can still go really well. So that's what I'm going to be interested to see, because Esper has historically not been very good at meshing with partners.
Right.
But if he can in this tournament, he's very good mechanically. And if he can have that kind of, low communication, instinctive level of teamwork with Doom, they could be absolutely terrifying. But if Esper, continues to not be able to adapt to a teammate, it could be difficult. But I'm really interested to see these guys. They could take it all the way, or there could be a huge communication mishap. Could be very fun to watch. Definitely going to see some Ice Sword and Railgun.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's go ahead and we'll move on to our next matchup. We've got Mirage and Darcia versus Affin, Show, and Snowrise. Affin Shao. Let me just correct myself because I know it'll tilt him. Xanxus, why don't you take this one for us?
so which one are we in right now? It's Mirage and Darcia.
Yeah, Mirage and Darcia versus Affin, Show, and Snowrise.
As far as predictions, I would say Mirage and Darcia. I would say 3-1 on Mirage and Darcia for this one. I haven't had too much. I from what I can tell, I haven't really played too much with Affin. Haven't really seen him online or anything. I played with Snowrise. He seemed to have improved. He was using a lot of vibration style stuff, and he was actually manual aiming pretty good. But I think overall, Mirage and Darcia have more of a solid kind of play style. So I'm going to give it to them.
Okay. Anybody else got some?
I'm actually going to go the opposite direction. I think Affin and Snowrise are going to take it 3-1. Affin and Snowrise still play frequently, and Snowrise has definitely improved since I played him in the 1v1 tournament in which he tried to hang on me, which I didn't appreciate. But anyway, Affin is I played with him recently as well. He's a solid player. Darcia, when I played against him in the 1v1, and when I was watching his matches in the in the last tag tournament, he made a lot of little mistakes, but they added up very quickly. They added up very quickly, and he doesn't play that often, so I don't know if his game has improved since then. And Mirage, the last time I saw him play was in the last tag tournament, and of course him and his partner, who I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but they didn't.
Wasn't it? Oh
No, it wasn't Mezrath. It was
Mirage
the erase
played
guy.
with
Madman, yeah. They didn't have the best numbers, but all their matchups were very solid. But I feel since they don't play as often, their game has not improved as much as Affin and Snowrise's. So I'm going to give it to Affin and Snowrise 3-1.
Okay. What are you thinking on this matchup, Sandal?
It's hard to say. I feel like Mirage and Darcia might have a bit more previous experience. I'm not sure about where Affin. I know Snowrise is new, but I've done well with Snowrise. And Mirage gave me a good fight in the tag tournament. But I hate to be this way, but he was super rusty when the last 1v1 tournament happened, and I played some matches with him. So, Mirage, you gotta get some practice in. Otherwise, I think Affin and Snowrise are gonna take it. But it should be a good match between them. I'm gonna go 3-2 because I'm really not sure where Affin and Darcia stand in this at this point.
Well, it's going to be Bundled Blaster versus the wannabe
Yeah, for
Shadow
sure.
Shield with Psycho Burst on
Sorry,
Affin's
I'm
show. So we'll just have to see who hits the bigger damage numbers right there. If you can hit that 18 damage Bundled Blaster that feels so good, or if Affin can sneak in and punch up with that Psycho Burst.
Is Bundle Blaster pretty good? Like, is that worth building a deck for? Or?
I've seen several people do it, and if you go back and watch, Mirage and Madman ran double bundle blaster decks together. So like double vibration, double bundle blaster, several times in every matchup. Almost every time they played City and Palace, they ran bundle blaster together. So it's solid. It's not something I've ever run. I know PDDCM actually has a single school bundle blaster deck that he likes quite a bit.
They beat us, me and Evolution, in the previous tournament with their bundle blaster. We ran like Faith Nature and I think double Faith Nature Arsenals or something. It was a very close match, but they took it. I had a very lucky Fortress of Iron against this like 6 or 18 damage bundle blaster at one point.
Yeah, I think there was even a clip in the
It's
in the teaser.
5.
I think it was a clip in the teaser of them hitting like a 16 damage bundle blaster.
Yeah, when that happens, it's just it's hilarious.
Oh yeah,
I
it
probably
can
just
hurt.
look to do 12 damage myself, 10 or 12, you know?
Yeah,
Shield,
you gotta
Bundle
settle
Blaster, and 10
for it.
damage.
Yeah, I mean they played double cartwheelers too, and one of their weaknesses, and I would say still a weakness of Mirage, was I don't think they ran enough shields. So you'd see them a lot of times with the ability to hit that 18 damage bundle blaster while taking a lot of damage because they had no shields.
Right.
Okay, so let's take us to the next one. We've got a few more matchups here. This is another one that some people may not be as familiar with. We got Painted Lemon 97 and Comrade Tuturu.
Tutu.
I'm not sure how that's
It's
pronounced.
It's an anime reference, I think. I
Okay,
forget what.
Well, that's
Yeah.
spelled with O's though.
we got our Weeb Lords in here. Thank you, Sandal. And it's Orange Baby and Game God on the other team. That was our last entrant, was Orange Baby and Game God. We've got the meme emperor of environmentals himself, Orange Baby, teaming up with Game God, who's been playing a lot. So what are some of you guys' feelings on this? Who wants to take this one away?
I don't think anyone really knows Painted Lemon. I mean, I've played with Painted Lemon in the 1v1 tournament, and then we played some more matches afterwards. And he's a good player. Still has a lot to learn though, but definitely gave me a fight. Tutor I haven't played with him in months. I haven't even seen him on, so I'm curious if he's rusty or not. When last time I played with him, he still had a lot to learn though, even about the basics of the game. So I'm wondering if he's improved any. Orange Baby, everyone knows what he's known for, and Game God has been playing a whole lot recently. I guess practicing, he has been getting a lot better. I would say Game God's probably one of the more known names in the community. I would give it. This is going to be a tough one because Orange Baby, Game God's a very good player, but Orange Baby's just going to screw him over. So I mean,
Orange Baby's just going to lay the wrong environmental at the wrong time, and
he's just going to
Game
quantum
God's gonna
DK
trip
him while
off the
Game
map.
God's using vibration. So
Here's chaos.
I'm going to give it to Lemon and Tutoru just because of that. Orange Baby's just going to screw over Game God. And it's not going to work.
So Murder
Sorry, Game
Mastodon's
God.
Murder's analysis here is basically whatever team has Orange Baby on it has to lose.
I was playing with Orange.
That's horrible.
I was using vibration. He quantum decayed me, and I said, "Dude, I'm using vibration." He said, "Adapt." Those were his exact words. Salty. Painted Lemon and Tutoru take it 3-0. Boom.
I wish Affin
Somebody
said that
sounds
to him.
upset. Somebody
Just a little
sounds
bit.
upset.
Still salty. Salty 2018 hashtag.
Didn't Affin Quantum Amp screw Orange Baby in the match? Like,
Oh yeah,
Orange
he
was
took him
using
out of his
Swift.
He took him out of his Swift attacks with a quantum amp.
Adapt to that.
No, but
Okay.
for real, yeah,
I don't think we've ever
still
seen a more dysfunctional team than Affin and Orange Baby.
After a while, Affin's just like, you know what? I can do this too. You know.
Well, I remember multiple times where one of them would lay down an environmental, and then the other would crush it and lay down a different environmental on their own team.
All right, on the real, I really do think Orange and Game God are going to take it. I think it's going to be a close series, though. I think it's going to go 3-2 in Orange Babies and Game God's favor, just because Game God is a very solid player, and even though Orange does like to screw off his partner, he is a good player as well. So I'm going to give it to Orange Baby and Game God 3-2.
Okay. Who else has got a prediction on this one?
Sorry for the salt. I'm done though.
I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna give Game God and Orange 3-0, but it's gonna be a very close match. I think with one of them. I don't know. I just don't know Tutu.
Down here.
So that might be completely unfair. Prove me wrong. Painted Lemon had some solid showing. What interests me is Game God was telling Orange Baby that they got to really coordinate stuff and make sure they synergize. So if they can synergize 3 random environmental, imagine that.
That'd be something.
But yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
I know Game
yes.
God has been vocal about wanting to coordinate with his partner.
Has
and
he?
if anybody can coordinate with Orange Baby, it's going to be Game God. I have faith in this gentleman.
There you have it.
That doesn't mean they're going to win, but I have faith that they might just coordinate.
All right,
and
so I've played with these guys a little bit. I don't know Orange Baby out of the 3 of them. I mean, out of the 4 of them, rather. I don't know him as much. Painted Lemon and Tutu are always kicking around playing battle royales, and oftentimes when I can't find tag matches to play, I'll just jump in and play with these guys. Tutu he's definitely a little rough around the edges skill wise. He's a real fun guy. He's full of energy, boisterous,
Always in a good mood.
Yep,
He is.
He is. Yep, and he's a comedian. He's funny, and he's fun to play with. But his skill level probably isn't on the same level as a lot of the people that are in this tournament. Painted Lemon, I think, probably has a little bit more together that way. We'll see how they play when it comes to tournament settings. They do play together quite often, so I'm sure they know a bit about each other arsenal-wise. Whereas that isn't true with Orange Baby and Game God, so I wouldn't count them out totally. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them taking a match or 2 off of Orange Baby and Game God, personally.
Good point.
That wouldn't surprise me.
No, not at all.
I didn't know they played together, and I didn't even know Comrade still played that often in Battle Royale. That's good.
Whenever I see those 2, I see them together, yeah.
Okay. Do you know if Lemon got a mic recently? Because last time I played him, he did not have a
Oh, that's
mic.
the other point. No, yeah, he's always silent. And I always hear him not talking at all and Tutoru more than making up for it.
all right, it's going to be fun to watch these guys. I think we'll move on to the next one. And I got another one prepared for this. You guys might.
I can't even see where you're
posting.
posting these things at.
If you go to the text channel, you'll be able to see it. Or if you're watching the stream, you'll see it.
I was waiting for that.
I don't know where it's at.
So
It's in the general.
you know the Jack Nicholson movie, and he's like, "Here's Johnny."
The Shining.
It's a
Yeah.
picture of him saying, and it's titled up at the top. It says Xanxus after drawing "Murder in J."
Oh
Here's
God.
Johnny. So that is, in fact, our next matchup. We've got our first grudge match here on the podcast. It is going to be Xanxus and Xanxus, the defending champions, versus Murder Mastodon and Jay, not the returning champions. So why don't you take this one for us, Sandal? Introduce this one a little bit.
Did these guys play twice in the previous tournament?
Was it once or twice? Do you remember Murder?
No, it was once. I got to play Doom twice.
Oh, okay. So the previous tournament, you guys had a face-off, and it was not in your favor, right? Was it?
It was 3-2.
3 and
I
2.
think.
Oh,
That wasn't Mastodon and Jay though. That was with Gagnon.
No.
Oh really?
The last tournament was me and Jay. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize. Okay.
3-2. Oh, then I'm even more enthusiastic to see this rematch then, because was it Murder previously played with Guinan in a previous tag tournament, and they went to first place against Xanxus and Xanxus, and like I said, the previous tournament, Murder split off and joined Jay, and they had a close round, and it'll be interesting to see how it goes this time around. Anyone else want to say something better? Because I'm doing a pretty crappy job.
I just want to hear the trash talk now. I want to hear him go at it. Xanxus,
They're trying
why
to keep
is
the
Murder
caps
gonna
on. That's
lose?
what it is.
I'm screaming in my head. Don't.
That's what I want to hear. I want the trash talk. Xanxus,
'Cause
why is Murder
it
gonna
was-
lose?
It was 3-2 in the last one, and they hung a reduced entropy on me and Jay on Pano, which no one remembered.
Wow.
But that is the way they won. So I have been waiting for a rematch. So I'm pretty excited.
See, so that sort of takes some of the thunder away from what I was about to say, but so I don't know. I've been playing a lot against, particularly Jay and Murder, out of everybody I've been playing against in the last couple months. So I have a good idea what kind of arsenals they've been running, and so I am generally familiar with what Xanxus and Xanxus run, but it's not usually reduced entropy hanging. So maybe I should just not say what I was about to say. I don't know. We'll see what happens, I guess.
Chaos.
Hey.
I don't want to give away too many secrets. I think I have too much inside information on Mastodon and Jay.
You do.
All right,
Yeah,
Xanxus isn't entertaining me. Murder, why is Xanxus going to lose?
Because he's not allowed to hang reduced entropy.
Who says I'm not going to play a jumper?
Oh, shots fired. Xanxus said he might play a jumper.
That deserves a meme by itself.
With the hottest insult of 2018, Xanxus might play a jumper.
I feel dirty even saying that.
So for those who haven't watched too many of these, I've been trying to bait Xanxus into trash talk for so many episodes, and I never can get him to do it. So
is Xanxus the only one out of this lobby right now that plays the cartwheeler? He is.
Nerd.
Xanxus is right next to me, so I'll consider him.
Shun the unbeliever.
Jumpers for life.
Okay.
Is he saying, it's Johnny, it's Johnny, here's Johnny?
It's Johnny.
Predictions here, though, or?
All right, yeah, let's hit some predictions. Murder and Xanxus don't get to vote, so I'll vote to break the tie. No, you don't get to vote. You're playing in the match.
Okay, Sandal.
Sandal, what do you got for me? Who's taking this match and why?
I'm going to go 3-2 Xanxus. Murder can't hang. That's going to be my counter.
That's true. I was talking out of all the people, because we were discussing a lot about the hanging rules coming into it, and I said out of all the people who have participated in our tournaments, I thought it was the most strange that Murder Mastodon would be in favor of a no hanging tournament, because I don't think anybody has hung more than he has in tournaments.
I think it's going to be 3-2, and it could switch ways, but I guess I got to give the previous tournament as my guide at least, and yeah, I'll put it 3-2 in Xanxus' favor. Okay. I'm interested to see it again, though.
All right, Invoker, who's winning and why?
All right. Well, I mean, I gotta play the antagonist here, I guess. And I'm honestly, well, I was gonna say this anyway, regardless of what Sandal did. I think that it's gonna be Jay and Murder 3-2. Like I said, I've been playing a lot against Jay and Murder the last couple months, and I'm fairly familiar with Xanxus and Xanxus playstyle. I have an idea of the kind of stuff that Jay and Murder are likely going to be running, although maybe I'm totally wrong. They're just using casual stuff against me and just keeping all their secrets. Who knows? But I think that some of the stuff that they're planning to bring to the tournament is going to be pretty tough to deal with unless you're pretty well prepared for specifically that. So that's all I'm going to say. 3-2.
Okay, I like it. So I guess to break the tie on the predictions here, I'm going to have to go with the gentleman who at least attempted to indulge me with trash talk, even if he sucked at it, and say that Xanxus and Xexus are going to take this one here.
Wowza.
Because I feel like they've got the higher mechanical skill ceiling, and I feel like some of the dirty tricks that Murder and Jay might previously been able to rely on aren't going to be as easily executable, which I think is going to favor Xanxus and Xexus.
Unless they don't prepare for it.
Yep.
I don't know, though, man. You got to think about this. I think Jay and Murder play more than any two players in the game, flat out. And their mechanical skill is easy to underestimate. Those guys don't make a whole lot of mistakes.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a close matchup, and I think it's going to
Invoker.
be fun.
Didn't we play last night, Invoker?
Was it last night that I was playing? Yeah,
Yes, it was.
Wait,
Oh,
is this
I make a lot
Xanxus
of
trash
mistakes,
talking
so.
about how he beat Invoker, or is he talking about mistakes he made last night?
No, because he made a comment yesterday night. He's like, "Why don't you guys make any mistakes?"
Okay, so that hold up. I think Xanxus was just trash talking.
No, well,
I
so
like
this is
it.
I'm drinking though, so this
what I
doesn't
said
count.
just now. Is I won't recant what I just said. And Mastodon and Jay make very mistakes. Xanxus and Xexus make almost no mistakes. It's actually very aggravating.
There we go.
Like
very
Paul the
aggravating.
Apostle, he is not ashamed of his prediction. I like it. I think that's probably the matchup that I'm most excited for in round one. I think there's going to be a lot of fun ones. Up at the top, Evolution and Goat versus Filthy and Daffy. Some others as well, such as I think Algol Mantis and Sardonic Jester. You guys really sold me on this matchup versus the first Ska Boss and War Machine is going to be a lot of fun as well. But I'm just really interested to see how this one turns out. And then we got our final matchup here. It's actually going to be another fun one as well. Is going to feature our friend here, Invoker of Legend, with I'm Kanye West versus Ebony Scarface and Savage Sim.
Well, we still have one more after that. We haven't gone over Sandal yet, have we?
Hold on. I'm just gonna say I hope Sandal
They
loses
get a
his
bye.
for saying I'm gonna lose.
Well, I mean, when you get a
We're gonna
bye, there
fight
is
it
no
out.
winning.
I didn't realize there was a buy there. Sorry.
Yep, Sandal's going to have a bye. But our last matchup, it will be you and Kanye versus Ebony and Savage.
Yay.
Let's see, Murder, why don't you take this one away for us?
Invoker and Kanye just recently decided they were gonna team. Both players very good. Of course, we saw Kanye the last tournament doing a teaming with Doom, and I think he did very well in his role that he provided. And Invoker, I play with all the time, and it's easy to say he's a very, very good player who's good at being aggressive. And I think Kanye is more that defensive player, so I think their styles mesh real well. They just have to put it together now into a teamwork fashion, coordinate some arsenal and stuff like that. I think they would make a very solid team. Ebony and Savage, Ebony obviously amazing mechanical player as well as an arsenal builder, dangerous on his own, won the last 1v1. Savage Sim, he's with Ebony, so yeah. Savage Sim is not as strong as a mechanical player, but the arsenals he does build are very dangerous. But I feel Invoker and Kanye, especially Kanye, Kanye knows how to combat Ebony's and Savage tricks. They know what they're going to bring. Invoker is no trick to him either. He knows what they bring. I think they're going to build accordingly, and I think they're going to take it 3-2. It's going to be close, and they're going to be very long, drawn-out games, but I think Invoker and Kanye prepare better than Ebony and Savage do.
Nice. Okay. I think the question for me, before anybody else jumps in, is whether Invoker can bring more slide lasers with Tiger Strength than they have flash holes.
That is the question.
I think that is going to be strictly the numbers game on who wins, whether there's
It's
more
funny you
slide
say that,
lasers or more flash holes.
Part of the reason why that arsenal that I have with all those slide lasers and Tiger Strength is built the way that it is because of playing against Ebony and Savage with all their flash holes. So you're not too far off the mark there.
We're gonna see a bundled laser.
Maybe, I'm considering. As we were talking about
Guinan
it.
used to run a really dirty bundled laser deck, and I have been nostalgic for it ever since. I used to love that deck. It was just Tiger Strength with like 9 vibration lasers and a couple of.
I think he
leads.
brought it to one of the last tournament matches he was in.
Did he
with
actually end up
math.
using it?
Yeah, I forgot who he played.
I love that
Did he?
arsenal.
He did.
That was one of my favorite ones to play with. Just have him sit in the back while I got in close up and personal, and he just drop 5 damage vibration lasers with the occasional lack and bundled laser all day. Loved it. Let's get some predictions on this matchup though, instead of my nostalgia for bundled laser. Xanxus and Collected Dust. Sandal. I don't think we've heard much out of you guys on this matchup.
I'm going with Murder's 3-2 prediction in Invoker and Kanye's favor.
Okay.
I think Invoker and Kanye are good at wriggling out of bad situations. I've been teamed with them and had that happen, and I think it's just going to give them just a slight enough edge against Ebony and Savage Sim. But I might not know what I'm talking about because I haven't played in a while with them. So, and they do have a good style. And even though a lot of people knew Ebony's style, he still took the 1v1. So don't
That is true.
count them out.
Well, even though he doesn't enjoy it as much, I played with Ebony recently, and I don't want to take away from him. He's a very good player, but I have to say, I feel like he's still much stronger in a 1v1. Even I was playing with him on my team. I felt like he was much stronger as a 1v1 player than he was a tag player, even though he prefers tag.
I agree with that also.
I think
Ebony has certain arsenals he uses that I know we do a lot worse because they're built for like a 1v1 style, but he uses them in tag. And in those situations, those aren't his strongest tag arsenals. But when he's playing like his normal flame swords and re-ends and just powered up, and then you never get rid of him because he recalls them back. When he does that in tag, it's pretty dirty.
He is the recall king, and
he gets that crown.
But you can't take away from the fact that Savage probably has played with Ebony more than any other player, so he is going to synergize with him very well.
They do have very
Yeah.
good synergy in arsenal building.
There's no way I feel comfortable going into this match relaxed at all. Kanye and I are going to have to be on our best game and definitely preparing for what's ahead of us to win that match for sure.
I'm just saying they play double roller. So
exploit that. Xanxus, been too silent, drinking too much over there.
Oh, sorry, Zex is here also. I'm gonna have to probably go after this prediction. We've got to prepare for Murder and Jay. So.
Okay, I see.
All right. So for this one, this is going to be a tough one. I think Invoker and Kanye can take it if they do some preparations for the style of Ebony and Savage. But as I'm saying that, Ebony and Savage could be playing something completely different. So it's going to be really tough. It's going to be, I think, just a good guessing game between them. So I would favor here Ebony and Savage. It'd be a 3-2 only because they've been playing for so long together. And I'm sure they've got something up their sleeves. They know that people know their general play style, stuff like that. So,
okay.
So I mean, to that point, and I don't disagree with it. I was thinking the same thing myself just now, but honestly, how much have we seen Ebony waving in his arsenal creation? He put up his arsenals for people to see before the final match, and then still went into the final match playing with those arsenals.
To be fair, he did use different arsenals during the finals. He just
he did. He switched it up completely. Yeah, he never actually violent changed once, I believe, in the last one against Esper.
Then I will recant my previous statement.
All right. Well, with that one said, guys, I'm gonna
wait. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm gonna head out.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We got a few extra topics here, and then we're going to wrap up. But thank you for being with us, Xanxus, and we'll look forward to having you in future shows. We'll have to get you drunk more often, get more trash talk out of you.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
Later, man.
See ya.
All right. So it's worth noting PDDCM is watching this, and he wanted me to say, he posted it actually in the chat. and he wanted me to say that for the last matchup, which we haven't covered yet, Sandal and Wardog versus Bai, he says that Bai
Right.
wins 3-0.
Oh, for sure. I
I was
agree.
Could
this is the
happen.
one I've been waiting to get to.
Yeah, Bai wins 3-0. But I think it's worth at least touching on the team, just to introduce them a bit and talk about them, since they don't have a matchup before we move on to the last topics. So I guess I'll just go over them a little bit here. Sandal, everybody knows as the mad scientist of Phantom Dust, and if anybody goes into this tournament thinking that he is going to have any trouble placing the environmentals that he wants to in order to mess your day up, trust me, he won't. Just because there's a hanging prohibition, he's going to still place it somewhere that you're never going to get it, and it's going to happen, and you're going to cry, because that's Sandal, and that's always been Sandal, and it always will be. And he's going to be partnering up with Wardog, who is one of the most aggressive players I have played with. Really, really favors the stimulate Fire Gehenna kind of playstyle, heavy hits, big damage buffs. And I think it's going to be interesting to see those two together. What are some of your thoughts on this, Murder and Invoker?
You want to go first, Invoker?
Yeah, sure. Why not? So I don't know a lot about Wardog Akuma. I haven't played too much with him. You just said that he's an aggressive player. Obviously, an aggressive player is going to complement Sandal's style quite a bit. That, I think, is going to come into play, what you were just talking about there, though. Knowledge is power, right? And Collected Dust, Sandalank, whatever you want to call him, has probably more knowledge in the game than any other player, if I'm not mistaken. So when it comes to getting around this new hanging rule, like you were saying, I don't think it's going to give him much difficulty whatsoever. So planning around that is going to be another thing entirely. A lot of people might let their guard down coming into this tournament, thinking, okay, well, we don't have to bring judgments, and we don't have to bring starting points, and we don't have to bring some of the stuff that we normally would, but that might not be true against certain teams, and this might be one of them. They have a bye here in the first round, so we're not going to see a whole lot of it right off the rip, but I think it should be very interesting to see overall. It's sort of, as I realize, as I understand it anyway, this sort of came together at the last minute. It wasn't really a thing that's been worked on in the past. Yes?
Yeah, we kind of came together in the last maybe 1 or 2 weeks, and been working on just trying to figure out what we want to do style-wise, and there's like certain combos that I'm interested in trying that, well, you've probably rarely seen. I don't know. Sometimes I don't even think of them, and whether they're good or not, we still got to shake them out.
This is good. Keep telling me more, please. Now what?
Invoker's over here taking notes.
Yes. So there you have it from the horse's mouth. They are coordinating arsenals, and it should be a pretty good team. Should be one to beat.
It's funny, everyone talks about Sandal's hanging environment, but he knocked me out of the last 1v1 tournament. And when I was building to play against him, everyone's like, man, you better bring Return Nature, you better bring your Orb, you better bring this. I'm like, damn. So I had like all these spots in my arsenal for stuff like that. And he didn't do any of it. So I kept falling into these dead draws that should have been defenses. And the whole time he was just chasing me around with Blazing Sword and Fire Gahanas. And I'm like, I should have never listened to these people. So don't take it away from Sandal. He can play too. But yeah, there's players like that you have to be careful of because, yeah, you build for one thing and they do a different thing. So,
he's a very complete player.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a very complete player. He's very good mechanically. He can play an aggressive style. He can play a very dirty style. And I'd say the best way to describe him is he's somebody who thinks outside the box. You see most teams and players kind of get shoehorned into certain styles. But the Sandal, I think the most famous play of Sandal has to be in the last 1v1 versus Shadow Shield on Panorama, where his entire way to counter the Melee King Shadow Shield was to jump up on a locker where Shadow Shield can hit him and just stare at him for the next 6 minutes. He thought outside of the box. In fact, he stood on top of it.
Yeah, that's one way to do it, right?
And so I think they're a very difficult team to prepare for in that sense, just because Sandal's on it. And that extra aggression level that you have out of Wardog, I think it could make for a very interesting combo.
Wardog is a ridiculously aggressive player. He is always, as soon as he can attack, he's attacking. It doesn't matter if he doesn't have a shield or not. He is going in, and he wants to do damage. So I'm curious how their styles are gonna mesh.
Well, that's funny you say that because he was complaining about not getting a shield in one match. He's like, "Where's my shield?"
Well, maybe if you didn't have 4 fire Gehennas, maybe then you'd have a shield. But yeah, I think they're going to be a lot of fun to watch. But we got a few extra fun questions here for you, and I'll answer these as well since we lost Xanxus, just to have fun here towards the end. I think most people kind of know who some of the favorite teams are going in, but we'll go over that one too. Who your favorite is to win. But let's start with who's your dark horse. Like who's the team that you don't think people are going to be watching that could make finals or even win the whole thing? And we'll start with Murder on this question.
I only get to pick one.
You can, if you have 2, you can pick 2.
Okay. Well, my number, I'm going to say they're going to get very far as the team we were talking about, Sandal and War Dog. I don't think they're necessarily, people don't think them at the bottom of the pack or anything like that. No one views them like that. But at the same time, just because it's a new team and it does seem a little mismatched, people are probably going to underestimate them. But I think they can definitely go all the way. And I'm going to have to give a very close second to people we were talking about earlier, Algal Mantis and Sardanic Jester. Just because I don't know much about Jester, but you guys were talking about it. But Mantis is definitely a solid player. So I'm going to give it to those two. Sandal first and Mantis very close behind.
Okay. Invoker, who is your dark horse?
Okay, well, so I got one serious dark horse and one not so serious. I'll start with the not so serious dark horse. I think my not so serious dark horse is going to be Xanxus here. I think most people underrate their skill, and I know everybody says they suck, but I think they can go pretty deep into this tournament. And
By
just
golly,
remember, I
he
said it
believes
now.
in him.
Okay, remember, I said it now when it comes down to it. But no, in all seriousness, I mentioned these guys earlier, and Scott Boss and War Machine. I think not many people know much of anything about them, but I don't think they're getting a whole lot of credit in general as far as being able to advance into the later rounds. Not to say that anybody thinks that they're terrible players or anything, but they obviously don't have as much recognition or just exposure to the community as other players here. But I think that it wouldn't be too surprising to me to see them go farther into the tournament than most people might have granted them credit for.
Interesting. I like it. Sandal, who's your dark horse?
Voker and Kanye. I think people think they're gonna do pretty good, but I think I've underestimated Kanye several times. I'm not going to do that again. And in Voker, I've had matches with you where it's like we seem like we're destined to lose, and then we somehow pull it off.
I can recall a couple, sure.
Yeah.
I sense a bromance.
So I think I think they could go very far, and people might underestimate just how far they could go.
Okay. So I guess I'll round it off. My dark horse for this, and I struggle to call them necessarily a dark horse, but I also wouldn't qualify them as a favorite, so that's why I put them as a dark horse. I think the team that a lot of people would have pegged more towards the middle of the pack, maybe a little bit higher, that could make a deep run and crack top 4, maybe even getting up towards the finals, is going to be Evolution and Gotrix. Evolution, a lot of people talked about, he's been putting in a lot of practice, been getting a lot better mechanically. He's hungry to win. But I think the big question mark for a lot of people is Gotrix. He's done well in some of the previous tournaments. And for those who may not remember as much, back in the day, he played a lot more. And he used to tag with me. And we made lots of finals together. And he did absolutely phenomenally well in those tag tournaments. He's a player that has a much higher ceiling than what he's reached. And if he's able to get in some playtime and play with Evolution, I could see those two players with very dirty minds for arsenal building and very solid mechanics going really deep in this tournament.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I mean, I guess I never really would have doubted that about those two. You know, I would expect them to go far almost.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'm excited to see them because the reason they're my dark horse is I think a lot of people would have them top 8, but I think they can break into the top 4 or even further.
Sure.
So I guess the easier question now is who's your favorite and why? And
Favorite to win or just
Yeah,
favorite?
who's your favorite to win? And we'll start with Invoker this time.
Okay. My favorite to win. I guess I'd consider this a bit as we were leading up to this question. I think based off of everything that I know, and as I say, that's a lot. I'm gonna have to give it to yourself and PD. Actually, Bregan, that's gonna be my take for the favorite to win the tournament. You guys just have so much team synergy and just experience. Overall, it's just gonna be a tough battle for any team, and I'd say that a close second and third between Jay and Murder and Xanxus and Xanxus. I don't want to, discredit anybody here, but I think that's going to be your top three-ish right there. Those are going to be your teams.
Okay. Sandal, who's your favorite?
I'm going with Xanxus and Xanxus. They have the previous records, and they've gotten far in the last two previous tournaments, either first or second place. So that's what I'm going with at this point.
And how about you, Murder?
It's close, but I'm going to have to say I'm going to give it to Ebony and Savage. I think some of their stuff is just going to be too hard to deal with for people.
Very interesting.
So now I was saying all this about Bregan and Xanxus. Realistically, Kanye and I are going to take the whole thing. I just didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But
I mean, we all knew that. So
yeah, all right. Just so we're all clear, yeah.
Kanye Invoker 2018.
Yeah.
I think for me, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to take the bait. And I'm going to say that Esper 51, despite not being a good partner for adapting in the past, is going to have learned from his mistakes, and that their styles will coordinate well enough that I think Doom and Esper 51 are, at least for me, in the opening stages, the team to beat right now. I struggle to say maybe the favorite, but I would say the team to beat.
I think you're, at least from me playing with Esper, I think you're a little underrating him there as far as like getting communication to go. Because I felt like we were able to communicate with things, but I don't know.
Well, that's
so
what I'm
here's
saying.
what
I'm
you're
willing to
picking
put my
up on
faith in
here.
him. I'm willing to say that this time
Yeah.
he's going to do well with it, and that he's going to be able to coordinate with Doom. And I think before people get a lot of practice in, especially at the early parts of the tournament, we'll have to see how it plays out later. But I think their mechanical skill alone makes them the team to beat. I think they're currently my favorite.
Okay. Well, so what I was going to say, though, is that what you're probably picking up on is that oftentimes Esper comes into a situation fully knowing what's going on, and if he detects that his partner is a complete noob like Bregan, he doesn't try to communicate with them. He just sort of plays his own game. If they actually know what they're doing, he tries to talk to them. That's what you're picking up on there. I just wanted to clarify.
All right. I think he's going to do it, and I think Doom is going to have a renaissance. A renaissance of railgun.
Could be.
All right. So our last topic then. Did everybody get in on that one? Everybody got their favorite in?
yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. So now we did your favorite. Now, what team that everybody thinks is going to do good, who's your favorite to flop? We'll start with Sandal.
That's a tough one.
I'm not doing this crap. That's my answer I was waiting for.
I'm not doing this crap.
Which
This
means
is just
Sandal
basically.
himself.
Yeah, this is basically. Like
This is my motto.
hurting people's
Trash
feelings.
talk is for trash. And now I will be on no more podcast.
Come on, guys. I need something juicy here.
Who's your favorite to flop? That's a.
Reagan, there you go.
You see, there's almost no nice way to answer that
That is
question.
probably the easiest answer, honestly.
You
It's myself.
queued yourself up for it. Come on.
I wrote that question fully well, knowing that there was a high likelihood that all four of you would give me as the answer.
I mean, I don't think that any teams are going to flop face down per se, but there probably will be teams that'll do less, will not do as well as people expected. If I had to guess, and this goes directly against what you said, and if I had to pick any team to flop, so to speak, I would say Doom and Esper might flop. They might not do as well as people say, just because of the reasons we talked about. And I can be totally wrong about that, but two very highly skilled players only have down to go, so flopping could be what they do.
Yeah, the word flop is just for color, but it's more or less who you think is gonna have high expectations and underperform.
Right. So I think Doom and Esper fits for me.
Okay, you got it. You got anything for us, Murder?
I would have to say Doom and Esper as well, just because people are expecting a whole lot out of them, and
Right.
Tag is a lot about teamwork, and neither of them have amazing teamwork coordination. But they are good at picking up their surroundings and stuff. But I think if they were to go up against a team like Xanxus and Xanxus, or Ebony, or you and Davio, or any team with a lot of synergy, they'd be in trouble. So I would say Doom and Esper, and also they're the least likely to be listening to the podcast. So
I'm pretty sure Esper is listening. Actually, he posted in the comments that he was excited to listen. So,
oh man,
Oh, shoot,
Esper.
that's
I meant to say.
I sword.
I
I'm
got
sorry,
nothing.
man.
Yeah, I got nothing.
I think
Shoot myself in the foot.
I think they're going to be a very interesting team to watch. We
I'm
talked
gonna get
a lot
ice
about
sword
them
to death
already.
now.
They just have so much potential for up or down because of some of the reasons we mentioned. They have similar strengths and similar weaknesses, and it's just going to depend on which one of those aspects is more important: the fact that they share a weakness or if they share a strength. And which one of those becomes more influential, I think, is going to be the big story for their team. But I think they're definitely going to be fun to watch. They're both high mechanical, high pressure players. I think no matter what, their matches are going to be super fun to watch.
Sure, but I know Esper plays mostly 1v1, but Doom is no stranger to tag team, as we all understand, too. So let's not discredit that either.
Yeah.
No, that's his preferred style.
Right.
Yeah, that's Doom's bread and butter, and he's, historically he was pretty much undisputably the best at tag team, and probably as an individual player. In the re-release, he's been in the conversation for best player, but not as dominant as he once was, perhaps. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm really excited to see all of the round one matchups and how the rest of the tournament plays out. Do any of you guys have anything you want to say, or any points you want to make before
Can we
close up?
do one more question?
You got a question for us?
Yeah, what the number one match you want to see? Not in this series, but just overall. What matchup do you really want to see?
Okay, I like it.
I want to see a Doom and Esper versus Xanxus and Xexus.
I
know
feel
Xanxus
like
and
that
Xexus.
has to be the answer. Xanxus
that
has managed to
does have
dodge
to happen.
Doom in every single tournament he's been in with him together. He has yet to play against Doom, and I think that as a viewer or anybody watching, our community deserves to watch Xanxus and Xexus versus Doom and Esper.
And even Xanxus has some blood from the last 1v1 against Esper, so
That's
There's
true.
a
He
lot.
got knocked out by Esper. I think he's still a little salty about that.
Yeah, that's it then. We'll have to, even if that doesn't sort of happen through the natural process of the tournament, we should try to set this up. I'm interested.
Yeah, we need the show match. And, the funny thing is we talk about how Xanxus will never trash talk. And it's pretty funny. The last time that I talked to both of them about their record against playing the other, both of them will say that they have the winning record versus each other. And I wouldn't say that they're dismissive of each other, but both of them seem to be confident in their winning record against each other the last time I asked them about it. So I would be super interested to watch a good old slugfest. Doom and
So
Esper
what you're
versus
saying is
Xanxus
that
and
at
Xanxus.
least one of them is a pathological liar.
That, or it could be very close, and you just get that aspect where you feel like you're playing well. I know I've had that times.
I'm just
Turns
kidding.
out you're more like 50-50, but you feel like you're doing well.
All right.
I think that's pretty undisputed there.
Does anybody else have another matchup that they could come up with? Maybe not as anticipated, but one that they would really want to see.
I want to see Evolution Goat versus you and Davi.
Okay, tell me why.
because I know you and Evolution go at it sometimes, so I know there'd be a lot of blood in the match, and also it's just be a very entertaining match, especially with the way Evolution's been playing very aggressively lately, and you and Davia always play really aggressively. I just feel like it'd be a fun match to watch.
I did play them the other night with Xanxus. I didn't play them with PDDCM, but I played them with a cartwheeler of similar level. But I have to admit, Xanxus dragged me kicking and screaming to a positive record over them. But yeah, they were putting the number on me a couple of times there. I think it'd be a fun one. I guess for me, another one that I would really want to see actually involves Evolution and Goat again. I would really like to see Evolution and Goat versus Ebony and Savage.
That would be a really fun one. I want to see Ebony and Savage versus a lot of players. That's why I didn't list them. I'm just curious how different players handle that kind of play style. Because everyone takes it in different directions. Some people go, well, if they're going to play dirty, I'm going to play dirty. Okay, well, if they're going to play dirty, I'm going to try to counter their dirtiness by just bringing 3 orbs in every game. So I want to see what the different high-level teams do to combat that.
I think those two players, they're very, very intelligent, and I think they would come in with very intelligent builds to complement each other and work against that. And I'd just be interested to see if Ebony and Savage would be able to prepare for it, whether they can stick to their guns or if they have to come up with another answer. Excuse me, because I don't feel like Evolution and Goat would be the kind of team to just roll them over on a mechanical skill advantage. I feel like it would be, kind of really good minds of Phantom Dust up against each other. Because Ebony, he may not have been previously renowned for it, but his one arsenal basically won the 1v1 tournament almost from beginning to end. So you have to give some credit there to the arsenal building
For
of
sure.
Ebony. He's really figured
yeah.
out some math and things like that, and things just seem to work the way he builds them. But Evolution and Goat are also both renowned for good counter building, and so I think that would be a really fun matchup for me.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think that wraps us up. Anybody have any last words they'd like to add in?
Nothing.
Nah.
Well, yeah, I think we pretty much covered everything here,
Yeah, well, thank you all for being here. I know I thanked Xanxus earlier, but I'd like to thank you all individually, Sandal, Invoker, and Murder Mastodon, being here with us tonight, giving us some insight into the matchups, a little bit of trash talk here and there, even though trash talk is for trash, according to Sandal. I'm pretty sure he trash talked somewhere during this here, so we know what he is. And I'm
Fair
looking forward to
enough.
everybody's matches. I want to wish everybody involved in the tournament good luck, and also especially good luck to you gentlemen here, because you can actually hear me right now. Except for you, Murder. I hope you lose.
Yeah, I'm on the same
man.
page. Boo,
No.
down with murder.
Yeah,
I'll
boo
remember
down
this.
with Murder. But I seriously and honestly, good luck to everybody. I hope everybody has a good time and enjoys their play in the tournament. And I hope to face you all later on in a future round. Thanks for tuning
All
in,
right.
everybody.
All right.
Hey, thanks for having us.